You getting comfy cozy, Bruno? He says, yes sirree, just another day, living wild at heart here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. Hello and welcome everyone. So happy to be tuning in with some of our medium-sized rescues today on this live post here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. That is rescued African serval Bruno. Mr. Bruno, I can zoom out here, is catching some shade and his free roaming habitat here, and even out in grass, which is pretty darn cool. As well as Lloyd circling around here somewhere. So happy to be live, everyone. Happy to be here on this Wednesday with you all at the Wildcat Sanctuary. And I was pointing out, the internet might have cut out for a second, but Bruno is under that tree. And then look who I have right here. This is going to be Miss Fiona. He's kind of done a good job at camouflaging herself in the tall grass within her habitat. I always do like pointing out, sometimes people will come to these live posts and say, gosh, everything's overgrown, you can't even see the cats. And we certainly want to give our cats an opportunity to, do what they would do in the wild. Just like I said, be able to camouflage and hide themselves, offer themselves a sense of security that cover is going to get them. But that doesn't mean that we're letting our habitats grow to a point to where they're unruly, to where they're not advantageous and disadvantaging the cat. That's not the case here. Certainly going to give them plenty of places to, just like we saw Fiona emerge there, plenty of places to kind of get out of Dodge, so to speak, and feel secure in that tall grass or maybe under a tree like this, while still, maintaining, a sense of organization to the habitats too. There's still plenty of mowed pathways and things. Still always so fun. Oops, looks like I focused on my rail there. Hey, we will do the best with what we have and still try to enjoy ourselves. It's a pretty sanctuary. It's a mid-80s. A lot of the cats are going to be doing what we see Fiona and Bruno doing here, and that's catching in some nice shade among all this sunshine we've been having. Sorry, I'm getting some hellos, and if that makes a difference at all, perhaps not, or perhaps it will be Fiona and Claude who are across the way. Exactly what I was hoping for right here. Talk about cats taking advantage of shade. There's little Luna the bobcat doing so. Some hiccups, Maria? That's no fun. I had a hunch we were going to get some bumps. Admittedly, there's some fun happening across the way in Cougar Cove. We might end our live posts by walking over there, because I know that in that area in particular, sometimes we get beat up on the Wi-Fi signal. But nonetheless, there's some fun happening over Cougar Cove way. Let's follow Miss Luna here. Erin received some cooling enrichment. She had a frozen hanging watermelon, which is pretty fun. As well as Tao getting a big old blood sickle. And the cats here in Wildcat Pines, where I am currently, you can see they had some fun new fire hose toys made from them. So that's a kind of a little braided setup. I saw Fiona, Bruno, and Lloyd also had a new braided setup hanging in their habitat, and a little added scent can make for some very much, a lot of fun. For that, those fire hose, the fire hose that's donated to us is ouch. All right, Bruno, let's try a little. Well, trying our best, everyone. I appreciate everyone's patience as our rural and remote location here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. We do have Wi-Fi here, but sometimes that Wi-Fi can be poor performing and makes for no fun for myself or you, I can only imagine. But still nice to catch snippets of Bruno and Lloyd in between the Wi-Fi hiccups. Also, seeing these two boys, there's Bruno kind of hopping along, and Lloyd is assessing some Jell-O enrichment that's been placed for him. Bruno and Fiona would be two full African servals, and when Lloyd, who we see here, is actually a hybrid. And we obviously many of you know that we're home to many rescued hybrids here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. And Lloyd's an F1 Savannah. So what Lloyd is a combination. He's a hybrid wildcat. So he is part African serval and part domestic cat. And Mr. Lloyd, you know, and many of our hybrid cats are going to be living in Catio Town, and some of our hybrid cats, like Mr. Lloyd here, have kind of made itself known that he's so close to wild as a first generation Savannah that he prefers life with, you know, maybe more wild companions, and that Lloyd, he may be a hybrid cat, but he can keep up with the full on. I hear you talking like Miss Fiona, and you guys know that we are going to take very kind of calculated assessments when we're looking at mergers, and knowing that Lloyd, when we were merging him with other hybrid cats, well, he was acting a whole lot more like a serval than anything else. And so for us to identify that Lloyd could be a good companion for these two, Fiona and Bruno, we're happy that that got to be a happy ending for this chatty boy. Hi! Getting a little semblance of a connection here. Maybe I can catch up on some comments here. Certainly, Tammy, that is a question a lot of people jump to when they see Bruno. Who lost the leg and how? And so, very observant of you, Tammy, you'd notice that one of the three cats in this habitat only has 3 legs. Bruno is one of our tripod residents. Bruno, unfortunately, he was found wandering a suburb of Boston in January. So Bruno was lost and wandering the suburb of Boston. When he was discovered by residents of that neighborhood, they had suspected that he had been hit by a car. And the Massachusetts SPCA was able to come and take Bruno in, and that's where they evaluated him and realized that yes, he did have a broken leg and that it was going to have to be surgically amputated. So it's a tragedy that Bruno doesn't have all 4 legs, and is another unfortunate tragedy because that's due to the selfishness of humans. Somebody owning Bruno as a pet, somebody having them in their residence. It's illegal to own an African serval in the state of Massachusetts. So certainly shameful and disappointing that Bruno even had to incur an injury like that, and certainly shameful too that when these types of wildcats get loose, this person isn't coming to claim Bruno. There's nothing that they can do in that situation, and it's tragic that Bruno did have to go through and experience that type of trauma, but fortunate he's here at the Wildcat Sanctuary, and fortunate that we can tell his story and help right the wrongs for other Brunos out there. Because Bruno is not the first cat to come here to the Wildcat Sanctuary who's just been found lost in Washington serval, Detroit suburb. Lizzie the serval, well, she was just found right here in Minnesota. So a lot of these jarring stories in the small cat crisis is certainly one that we hear over and over and over again. And just how unfair it is. To compartmentalize it is knowing that it's a tragic thing that Bruno was suspected to have been struck by a vehicle and injured and have his leg amputated. But also just thinking about the type of fear and uncertainty a cat like Bruno is experiencing when he's lost and wandering a neighborhood like that. It's just jaw-dropping. So I think it was Tammy asking about Mr. Bruno and his leg, and I even see Faith, you posting a link to Mr. Bruno's story, which is always appreciated, so people can kind of learn more in depth than my kind of maybe scattered description of Bruno's story while I'm stomping around out here. So thank you, Faith. And Yada, that is just, truer words have never been said. Good house pet. Among a few, I think those, and of course she got out of Dodge, is that they're saying, okay, well, it's still cool looking. It still maybe has some of those wild aspects that they're wanting for some reason. My living room, it can be in my kitchen. And again, this is all me kind of pontificating on the unfortunate thought process that people make when they're wanting to purchase one of these wildcats as pets. But yeah, Henyatta, I just think that's one of the bigger ones, is they look at the size and they know that, hey, it's not going to turn into a 400-pound tiger. It might as well be a green light for me. This cat's going to fit in my house. I don't have to get an outside cage. But here at the Wildcat Sanctuary, we know how those stories end. And it's tragic, and it's why we're doing what we all are here doing today, is maybe learning about Bruno's story, maybe reciting Bruno's story, and we want to make a difference for the Brunos yet to come. And kind of shame on me, even the cat who Bruno lives with, Miss Fiona here, well, she was actually found wandering a desert area in Arizona. And, you know, I don't mean to chuckle or anything, but you can't imagine what this individual, when she called authorities, this individual reported and said, I think that there's a cheetah across the way in this field. And because she was in a kind of arid, deserty area, and she's seeing this spotted cat and thought this African serval, Miss Fiona, was a cheetah. But she was wandering that Arizona desert area. Miss Fiona had some cactus spurs in her, was very dehydrated, as you can imagine. And, you know, Fiona's certainly come a long way since being here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. Yowzer, for about over 2 years now, if I'm not mistaken. But certainly kind of had some evidence of you know, being afraid and being uncertain about things. And a lot of that, I believe, to be derived from her being out on her own there in that Arizona desert. But to see some soft blinks, her napping under a tree while the big bad paparazzi's here, that is a major testament to the type of care that your support goes to provide cats like Miss Fiona. Well, I don't want to get too well, right as I complimented the Wi-Fi, it kind of cursed me there for a little bit. So, away to Cougar, a coherent live post where we're not getting too jolted. I think we're going to stick with cruising around Wildcat Pines here for a little bit longer, everyone. Cruising, he says, well, I was out in that sun, and holy buckets, I got to get the shade in. You can see the... Oh. Ay. Well, let's try to end on a positive note. Maybe we can see some cats, since things have been a little bumpy so far. This is right where I thought I'd find you, Miss Cutie. Here's Miss Bonnie of Bonnie and Clyde. And I do think so many of the names here at the sanctuary are very fitting to, you know, the personality of the cat, maybe the look of the cat. And Miss Bonnie here and Bonnie and Clyde, I think they are two kind of bandito bobcats, if you will. They just are always up to no good, and in the best way possible. I mean, Bonnie is always wondering what her caretakers are doing, you know, when's mealtime, what's the new enrichment, you know, what's this person doing, what's that person doing, and then on top of that, she is just a mischievous gal. So so many of our names are, you know, very fitting, like I said, to the kind of personality or maybe just the characteristics of that cat. But Bonnie and Clyde, quite the dynamic duo of bandits here, if you will. And you will see Miss Bonnie's ear kind of folded over like that. She had a hematoma in her ear before rescue, and that had some tissue damage happen, and so she's got that little unique look where her ear is folded over like that. Bobcat Mondovi, shoe fly. Bobcat Mondovi, who's right behind me, has that same kind of unique look. Certainly Mondovi and Miss Bonnie here are in stiff competition for being the true sanctuary doppelgangers. Those cats look so similar to one another. You know, and I know people play around. Well, you know, Riku is Shazam's doppelganger, or you know, I think there's a few other kind of sanctuary doppelgangers, if you will. But man, Bonnie and Clyde are, or Bonnie and Mondovi are the two twins here. I can see Kelly getting her sunglasses on for this sunny day. She's got her handy dandy hook there. Cats are all fed. They've already done some cleaning, placing enrichment. So it looks like it's on to waters. Yeah, and I think that's a big part of their day too. Is kind of the maintenance and upkeep, and particularly of our water, and knowing that all of our water sources in our habitats, there's not just one. There's typically multiple. So, and that also includes their indoor space too. So, wanting to keep fresh and full water is very, very important for us here at the Wildcat Sanctuary and our rescues. As well as understanding that though we may want it another way, and Kelly can testify to this, many of the cats like using their water buckets. Oh, and I didn't mean to stop you, Kelly. I was just going to say that many of the cats like using their water buckets as sometimes a litter box, if you will. Yeah. So it's not only just keeping it fresh, keeping it cool, but it's also making sure that it's a clean water bucket. So
those two are notorious.
Well, I was just kind of talking about their mischievous antics, so I think that just reinforces that point, Kelly. I appreciate you stopping for a second. But exactly, fresh, clean water, and not just one bucket. We like to give them multiple options. And hey, though it may look as clean as the fresh driven snow, I can guarantee you there might be a little drop of bobcat urine in there, you two. About 80 of you watching with us. Glad to see that this live post is getting off the ground here a little bit. If you are just tuning in, we are live. That is Rescue Bobcat Bonnie right here in front of us. That is her boyfriend, or companion, I should say, Mr. Clyde. And we've been kind of touring around and visiting with some of our small and medium-sized rescues here in Wildcat Pines. And it really is a gorgeous summer day too, everyone. And I know it's kind of been a busy week for me so far, and I might not have been able to wish everyone that they had a happy 4th of July weekend, and that it was well spent doing however and anything that you wanted to do. Let's see. And so this was a good question. I see you kind of answering it too, Marcy. But Teresa Parsons Victoria, is just asking where or how many states are big cats legal to own. And fortunately, there's been the passage of some federal legislation which kind of clamps down on the ownership of big cats and the breeding of big cats, and just making it giving it a larger sense of accountability, I should say. And so right now there's federal legislation prohibiting the ownership. There was some grandfathering in of people who had already had big cats, and they were to register it under this new federal law. But long and short, there's now federal law kind of prohibiting the private breeding and owning of these big cats, which is definitely a win. But it's also understanding that during this live post, I've been talking about everything but big cats, and that small cat or smaller medium cats like bobcats and the servals who we were just with, they're not included under that Big Cat Public Safety Act. So it's coming, and knowing that we're able to do it and get it done and advocate for the big cats. And now, as we face the small cat crisis, understanding that we have some more advocating to do to make sure that we can create a safe future for cats like Bonnie here. You getting a little grass in, Miss Bonnie? You little kooky girl. Well, everyone. I keep on turning around hoping to see if Mondovi or Aria have joined us. I do see Mondovi. I can zoom in on Bonnie's doppelganger. Or I should say, since Mondovi came before Bonnie, perhaps she is his doppelganger. Or Mondovi came before Bonnie, excuse me. I am all tongue twisted and then some on this Wednesday. And you can see that little cool flapped ear of Mondovi. I say cool in air quotes. I think one of the supporters has kind of made it, made the joke that it kind of looks like he's wearing a fedora or something like that. It might have been you, Henyatta. It might have been me who made that bad joke. I don't know. I'm usually full of them. But let's go over and get a closer look at Mondovi. Maybe his neighbors, Morgan, Glenn, and Sarge are out. And I think we will call that a live post for the day, everyone. A little bit rocky of a start, but I think we are coming into a smooth landing. And rocky start by just the Wi-Fi was kind of beating me up a little bit. I wanted to get some more time in with Bruno and Fiona, but unfortunately that Wi-Fi was saying otherwise, Mr. Mondo. And I'm also wondering if Kelly went that way, if she's also doing some feeding on top of her water, so we will see. Yep, and thank you, Marcy, too, for you and Victoria are kind of talking about that private ownership question, and you kind of writing out a really good response for her. Chizzy Level, Bruno's first video of him at TWS broke my heart. He was scared. I said I have to sponsor him. Chizzy, thank you for that. I always say, and you know, this isn't just, you know, me beating the drum as a Wildcat Sanctuary employee, but I always say that the best way to welcome a new rescue, to make sure that they're going to be starting out on the best foot, to give them that warm welcome, Chizzy, when you maybe do see that fear and uncertainty in their eyes, is sponsorship, is making a connection with that cat that's meaningful, that does something not only for Bruno, but I'd like to think it does something for the sponsors as well. So thank you for that, Chizzy. I'm glad you got to see that handsome dude on today's live post. And it looks like they are doing some feeding here. I see some water bowls, or food bowls rather, but we'll zoom in on Mr. Glenwald here in the back. And I'll make sure I'm not missing any comments or questions. I'd like that, Hinata, a shirt that advocates for the littles, a TWS shirt that is. I would love that. Kind of maybe like a guerrilla marketing shirt, you know, some type of catchy something, this, that. Gets people talking, gets them asking questions, turns heads. I'll have to go into the marketing think tank for that one. Yeah, and Marcy just kind of pointing back to the Big Cat Public Safety Act and how it needs to be made illegal everywhere, and that we now need to make this protection for smaller cats too. And exactly right. That's I think you guys can, you know, if you were to watch a Wildcat wrap up and have kind of a bingo card with you, I think it would be easy to fill out that bingo card with some things that Tammy's going to say, which is small cat crisis, which is abandon this, abandon that. There's so many of these things that we say on a routine basis here at the Wildcat Sanctuary that it's almost predictable, and it's a shame because the small cat crisis, we still have a lot to do. We have to get our arms around it. But the fact that we're even using these words together and we have this type of vocabulary and we're aware that something like this is going on, that's a big step in the right direction. But still a lot to do, Marcy. You're right. And we are going to keep fighting for the littles. But I think we will call that a live post today, everyone. I am glad that we got to spend some time with the littles, that we got to highlight their plight here at the Wildcat Sanctuary and how their stories and the ways that they come here to rescue is just as compelling and just as motivating as the largest big cat. And to know that your support is doing something equally for all of these cats is something special. Look at this, a little meal time for Bonnie and Clyde, getting rather excited. Bonnie and Clyde, and many of our cats will do some anticipatory pacing here at the lockouts, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with our lockout system, just where we ask the cat to come in, feed them their diet. Kaylin can get a closer look at Bonnie and Clyde here, not only make sure that everybody's eating their diet, nobody's picking up each other's scraps, but also too taking a look at Clyde's mouth, taking a look at Bonnie's mouth, seeing if they're maybe favoring one side of their mouth, if perhaps too we can get a closer look at the body condition as well. There goes Mr. Clyde. And understandably so, many of our cats, their favorite time of day is food time, but particularly I think for Bonnie and Clyde, knowing where they're rescued from a fur farm here in Minnesota, is that they were rescued from a small enclosure where you couldn't even see the ground. The ground was just covered in old styrofoam chicken flats. So you can imagine the only relationship that Bonnie and Clyde had with a human is when they just came over and threw over a whole package of chicken over into their cage. And so to see Bonnie and Clyde, them getting a little tuned up around mealtime, that's certainly understandable. And then I just think goes to inform the type of thing that they were rescued from, and that how they related humans, and humans had food, and how food always wasn't a guarantee for those cats. And so now here at the sanctuary, they're still being fed every day, but I don't think you can blame them when food was, perhaps that much of a scarcity for them, Mr. Lloyd, that they get very, very around. Where to? Well, cool. Leave it to me to draw out a live post just when I thought I was going to be winding things down. But I'm glad we got to end with a little Clyde and Bonnie moment. But hey, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Wednesday today, everyone. Tomorrow is Thursday, so you can look forward to a Wildcat wrap-up from Tammy. But otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and we will look forward to seeing you back here at the Wildcat Sanctuary soon. See you, everyone.